We're live. We are live. All right. I'll do a general reading. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe we'll just start talking. Let's see. I'm going to set up my thing so we can. So that we can. What are we doing? So we can have moderators. That's what we're doing. Make sure there's no feedback. And the chat's a little bit quicker on the YouTube side of things. Hey, Bear Clark. It's a lot quicker on the YouTube side of things. Okay. All right. There we go. 7 p.m. here in Ireland. Hello, by the way. Let's see. Per usual, we're using our Star Wars Affirmation Cards. 52 ways to discover your inner Jedi. Comes with the book. Set that over to the side. And 7 p.m. here in Ireland. Sounds like a good time. Sounds like dinner time. Sounds like food time. Chill time. So I think for today, I'm actually just going to do random polls on the affirmation cards if you want them or need them or, So if you're looking for a poll, just let me know in the chat like always. Fair warning, if it's not obvious, is that I am pooped out. I am so tired, and I have been for past few days. I've really just been done in general, and normally I wouldn't, but I think it's important. I think it's important to come on here when you're that way to fulfill your things. I did say last week that I would be here, and also it's important to remember that there's no such thing as the answer, right? A lot of spiritual and philosophical paths will claim that once you get to a certain level that these kind of things disappear, that they are solved, that they are taken care of, that you transcend them. And I haven't found that to be true. And I certainly don't think it's ever been true of the Jedi philosophy. I think one of the things that we can say is it gets easier in a certain way. And it gets easier because we're able to recognize things and we're able to address them in a more honest way, and we have tools to help us through them. So I think it gets easier to deal with those tough moments that we deal within ourselves. But I don't think there's a path out there that magically solves these things, where if you reach a certain level, then it's just gone. I don't think it works that way. At least not in my experience. So, but yeah, if you guys want a card pool, just let me know. Good morning, Obi. It was a nice sunny day here spent on the beach and climbing the rocks. That definitely sounds like fun. It definitely sounds like a good way to spend the day to me, I don't trust anyone who says they are enlightened and beyond all struggles. We were talking about Charles Bukowski. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but we were talking about him last week. And that of course encouraged me to pick up a book that I have of his, and I was reading it, and there's a thing about like beware the preacher and things of that nature, and people who are beyond struggles are the people who tend to struggle the most. People who say they're beyond struggles are the people who struggle the most, or the people who praise the most often require the most praise and things of that nature. I was kind of going through going through that concept and such like that. So yeah. But yeah, I agree, and it's one of those things like, you know, it was important to me in like the situational Jedi when I wrote the book to put it out there. And on the next book project that I have, I'm really looking to go through it, because I did write a good portion of it, a majority of it, when I was in a different headspace. And so I look at it now, and it's a little too flowery. It's a little too I don't want to say optimistic, but it's a little too of that. It's a little too like, once you get here, like things like that. And it's like, yeah, it gets easier. It doesn't go away though. Like nothing ever goes away. Hey, Base Jedi, welcome. Always good to see you. Hello there, General Kenobi. Going through the chat. Okay. But yeah, so again, just a reminder, if you guys want to card pull, it's gonna be random today. I'm only doing randoms. So if you want a random card pull, you can have one. All you have to do is ask. But let me know. But yeah, so it's one of those things where I'm on the struggle bus currently, and it's you, in those moments, you do want to, or at least for me, I prefer to hide away. I prefer to like solitude and a dark little cubby hole and things of that nature. Like I go thing. Give me some books, some blankets, and some like lo-fi music. Like that's the direction I go. So yeah, so that's me. But you still have to function within society, right? And you still have to get going. And I think that's where philosophies such as Jediism, Zoism, anything out there, vampirism, right? Like the vampire philosophy rather than the act, if you will. But I think that's when those things, Stoicism, whatever Buddhism, whatever your kink is, philosophical kink, I guess, is that helps you function better. It helps to function better in society because it's still required of you. That's the society we live in. That's the world we've propagated. We've got all this technology, all this thing. We've conquered the food industry and agriculture, and yet we could feed the planet 5 times over, but yet we throw out more food than that could so we're quite capable of producing for everybody, but somehow we've found ourselves in a society that doesn't care anymore about everybody. And so you still got to function through it. You can be soul tired. You can be soul tired, and you still have responsibilities, and you still have things that you have to do, whether that's on a personal level, like familial, or on on a little bit larger scale with like employment or school or things of that nature. You still have to go through it. And I think that's where the philosophy allows us to function in a survivable state, right? It gives us our things that work for us, that allow us to work through it in a healthy manner, rather than just shoving it down and putting on masks and things like that. I think that's what the previous generations did, especially when you get back to like the 40s and 50s and of the 1900s. You get into those early years. I think there was a lot of that, just masking, shoving stuff down. You just did it, and of course that's not healthy, and that causes its own problems, right? So through the philosophy and with the internet and everything, philosophy is much more obtainable, right? Practices are much more attainable. the things that we can explore different philosophical thoughts, different religions without any fear of retaliation on those things. Like you can explore more privately, and yet at the same time much more connected to the people who actually practice those things, so you can get like a really good understanding of what speaks to you more. And 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 that's important, and that helps. And all of it just kind of reminds me of the quote from Lost in Translation, where you know, Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson are having a conversation, and they're talking about like marriage and stuff. And she asks him, "Does it get easier?" And at first he's like, "No." He's like, "Yeah, it gets easier." And that's, you know, it can feel like, especially when you're struggling, right? Like it can feel like it, like, what's the point? Like, why was I putting in those hours of meditation? Why was I working out? Why was I studying all this philosophy? Why was I doing all these things if I'm just gonna hit this wall, if I'm just gonna feel this way again, right? Like if I'm still gonna face these struggles, if I'm still gonna get tired, you know, then what's the point, you know, if it doesn't go away? And you know, it gets easier. And that's the point, is that it allows you to function better in a more healthy way, you know. That's what's important. That's what it's there for. It's not a magical cure-all. It's not, none of the philosophy is meant to magically make your life super better all of a sudden, or magically, you know, disappear all your problems. You know, it just doesn't work that way. It's not that. But, you know, no philosophy is. No spiritual path is the magical cure-all, because you are dealing with things that are intrinsic to you. You're dealing with things that just can't be, you know, resolved. It's chemicals in the brains and things of that nature. It's, you know, things that just ultimately aren't changed. There is no cure for them. There's cure for some stuff, right? Trauma, right? How we were brought up, things of that nature. We can work through that. We can process through that. It'll still be there. Obviously, they're done. We experience time in a linear manner. So once an event has happened, it's happened, and we got to live with that now, you know. So so you still have to deal with that, but the philosophy, spiritual path, whatever, that can certainly help with that. It doesn't erase it, it doesn't remove it, but it allows us to grow through it, and eventually in a sort of way let go of it. Like it will no longer drag us down. But again, if you're talking things that are intrinsic to your brain, like ADHD, depression, anxiety, things of that nature, things that are just there, it's a lot of neuroscience research has shown that meditation definitely helps, you know, create new pathways in the brain, and things of that nature. And it certainly helps. Again, it helps. And if you do it so often, like, it really helps. But I don't think I've ever met anybody on any spiritual path who lives it, you know, in depth, and truly lives it, who's dealt with those issues beforehand, and then afterwards has been like, oh yeah, it solved it. And it's like, it hasn't solved it, you know. It certainly helps with it, but if you think it's gone and it's disappeared and it's out of there, got news for you. You know, it's I think one of the things that the philosophy and spiritual path really does is help us readjust our focus in life, allowing us to know when we're not focusing on the right things, and to help direct our focus on the things that really do improve how we feel in life, and the things that we're searching for, and the things that we're working for. It's easier to shoulder hardships and struggles when you know that you're working towards something that that's important to you, that speaks to you. Uh, if someone's writing a book or painting a picture or doing something like that, that's something that they want to do and something that they're looking forward to do and something that speaks to them and something that they know the end product they're going to be proud of in some way, right? Creators often have a problem with appreciating their finished works, but at the same time they can really be proud of the growth that they had during it and the end product, and then looking forward to moving on to the next thing. But the creation process or building those things can provide a lot of struggle, and it can provide a lot of issues where it just feels stagnant, or it feels tough, or you sit down at the computer to write, or maybe you're old school with a pen and paper and you're looking to write and it's just not working, and it's kind of struggling, especially if you're doing it and a publisher's waiting and they got like a deadline and they're like, come on, you need to finish this project up. It can feel like a struggle. It definitely feels like work. It feels, you feel that pressure, but at the same time, that's much different. That's a much different stress. That's a much different pressure. That's a much different struggle when you're doing something that you actually enjoy and love, versus when it's, when you're just working a job you really don't like, you really are not okay with, and you're getting that same pressure, you're getting the same deadlines, you're getting the same pushing, you're struggling in the same way, maybe creatively or just production wise, and you're struggling production wise, and you have bosses getting on you and stuff like that. It's a different level. There's a different level of like, I hate this, right? Versus when you're doing something that you actually love and enjoy and you're struggling with it, that's more of a disappointment. That's more of a, oh man, I want to be better. I want to do this. I want to write. I want to create, and struggling with that thing. There's always going to be struggles, but I think when you've walked the path philosophically, spiritually, and all of that, you are much able to align yourselves to the things that when you struggle, you can kind of take that step back and understand, like, it's okay. Got something in the chat. Thank you for all your books on Jediism, Jerome Shaw. Welcome, Jerome Shaw. You're welcome. I'm glad that you've checked them out. I got one more, technically two, but one's like not going to be out for like another, if I survive, is not going to be out for another 30 years is my goal. I want like 30 years of or maybe 20. I don't know. Well, 20 for the research, and probably will take me 10 years to write it thereafter. But there's one that I'm going to do after that. But I do have another one that should be like this summation of all these, the final version, if you will, the final form, if you will, that should have almost everything compacted. Obviously, the situational Jedi will still be on its own. I like the format of that book. I like how it's set up. So I'm going to keep that. That's going to be fine. But it might render it's going to be different. Obviously, Exploring the Jedi Lifestyle is an older academy program, so it has different lessons. It's going to have different lessons than that one. That one's those lessons will still be on its own. Same with the Jedi Circle. It'll actually share some of the Jedi Circle stuff, but not obviously not all of it, because the Jedi Circle has since been updated and changed from the original. So the Jedi Circle will still be on its own. I've debated whether or not taking down that book, and because the Jedi Circle has been updated, because it's changed. But I've had a lot of people over the years tell me that they like the original, or they find the original Jedi Circle to be important. So I'm going to leave it up. But I really like the new Jedi Circle version better. So that's definitely going to be explored in there. So there's going to be some overlap, but it's all going to be different. But we do have another one coming out. I'm really kind of excited to get it done and get it out and get it over with. But absolutely, you're welcome. Like, it's not me, right? This is just something I've been doing my entire adult life, into my teens, that I've been doing, and it's a privilege for me. It's an honor for me. It's a luxury for me to be able to share it and put it out there. And I'm glad that people resonate with it, and I'm glad that people find it useful and beneficial, and are able to use that to find their own paths and to grow in their own way. But if you have any questions, let me know. And, but absolutely, it's you can never credit, or at least me personally, maybe it's just my anti-authority ways. I never credit the teachers. I always credit the students. We talked about it last week, the way that the way that my high school years went was very much on my own. So I always credit the people who can take it and learn themselves. They do, like, you're doing the work. If you're taking the books, if you're reading the books and then you're putting, that's all you. So all your, growth and all your accomplishments and all that stuff really comes back to you, because you're putting in the time, you're putting in the effort, you're willing to dig into the lessons, you're willing to put in the work, and to really examine your life through this lens. That's amazing, right? Like, that's something worth, thinking. So make sure you appreciate and be grateful and thank yourself for the work that you've put in as well, because that's the majority of it. Instructors, teachers, they can only take so much credit. Oh, I put out the material. Sure, I put out the material, but you're the one that's taken that material and then, actually applied it, actually used it, actually dug into it, actually put in the work, actually, like, you're the one you're the one putting it in. I'm not there behind you, pushing you. I'm not there dragging you across the finish line. And even if I was teaching in person, I wouldn't do it anyways. I'm a firm believer in reliance, self work. So, you guys are the ones that, everybody who's got the books and stuff like that, you guys are the ones putting in the work. So, make sure that you appreciate yourselves, and that you really, understand that you are your own Jedi master. You're the one doing it. You're the one making it happen. So the Situational Jedi is truly an excellent read. I return to it all the time. I don't have it. Normally it's up on the wall, but I do have a surprise about that, which I'll do a community post when it happens, but I don't think it's going to happen for a few weeks. But so that's what we're talking about, right? The Situational Jedi. This one's actually a different format. I was looking to format it just a bit differently. I went to a copy editor, and they put in these little things. These, and I don't have a different copy with me, but I don't think that I ended up going with with this format, because there was issues with it not always being formatted properly, which again is always a problem. And it's why I've learned not to outsource. I tried to outsource a professional copy editor to copy edit the book, but the reality is that professionals don't give a shit about your book. They don't care. They're doing their job, but when it's yours, you go through it like I go through it a bunch of times. You would think my books would be better edited because of that, but again, as any writer knows, it's difficult to edit your own books. But if you had saw the books before, I went back and edited them like 3, 4, 5 times. Each time finding something more, each time finding something new, yeah, they are improved. The brain isn't the greatest writing. My brain isn't it's why I say I'm not a writer. I'm not, even though that's it. But I'm glad you found it. Like, it's more my style. I am a person, like, so we were talking about Bukowski, and I'm more of a style of a reader that just likes to open up to a page and kind of go through it. And that was the way that I did it with the situational Jedi is that one, yeah, if you have, I see you thing, I'll random pull, I will absolutely do that for you. But like, yeah, you can go into the table of contents and pick out, what you need, right? Like what are you facing? But also you can kind of just open it up and then hit a chapter and just kind of read or go through it. And that's more my style. I'm not a very linear reader. When especially, or I guess mainly when it comes to philosophy books or spiritual books or any book of this nature, right? Self-help, I don't know, whatever category you want to throw it into. But yeah, it's just not my style is much more about organic and random and like going with what you need rather than having to read cover to cover. I just don't vibe with that cover to cover stuff. So yeah, I picked up a book recently and I was talking with the author and he was asking me how far I got in it. And I was telling him like, yeah, that's not how I read. I kind of just jump around. He's like, no, you have to read this book linearly. And in reading it linearly, I saw why he said that. And I was like, and like, I get it, but it's still not my style. Like I'm stalling out because I'm like, yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just not my style. Just not how my brain works. It's just not my thing. Random pool. How many cards, Space Jedi, you want? You want 1, 2, 3? What do you want? 1, 2, 3? Technically, you got 3. If we're gonna count those, I'm gonna wait though. If you just want 1, let me know. I might throw those back in, or I might just leave them out. We'll take a look at them. Maybe someone needs to. 2, please. Okay, I'm gonna go with 2 more, and then we'll look at these 3 that jumped out. They might be for you. They might be for someone else. They might be for me. Who knows? The message needs to be said, so we'll say it. So these first 2 are, well, do 2. Is it? I think we'll just do those then. Yeah. All right. So this is going to be your pull base Jedi, and these 2 are the ones that pushed out 2 affirmations. This one also kind of came out, so we'll just see what's up with there. Raven, I will get to your comment here in a second, Raven. All right, so these are the affirmations that kind of jumped out. I have hope. I can face any challenge as long as I have faith that my path is on the side of the light. The wording in Star Wars, because it's Star Wars, right? The wording's always a little love and light for me. Like, plus I'm not, as anybody who watches this channel knows, I'm not a big dichotomy fan. I find it to be a false dichotomy. This whole yin and yang kind of concept just doesn't work for me. I am very much about there was a Jedi in the Jedi community by the name of, why am I drawing a blank? Teoni, Jedi Teoni. I don't even know if that's how you say it. It's Tionne. I don't know. And the name is from the expanded universe. She was a Jedi. She became the Jedi archivist for Luke Skywalker in the expanded universe. And this person in the community took that name because that's their thing. Point being, getting there, is that she wrote this lecture, or if you will, in the Jedi community way back in like 1999 or maybe, yeah, I think it was probably around 1999. And it was called The Mosaic. And it was talking about how the Jedi and the Force is not this, you know, it's not this duality, but a mosaic, and that we are part of the mosaic that makes up the bigger picture. And I've always loved that analogy, and I've always run with that analogy. And I even use it in regards to the overall spiritual concept of the universe, where you, especially on Earth, where I'm like, no culture, no religion, no philosophy has the full picture, has the single picture. They all have just a couple tiles, right? Maybe some of them have a bit more, and some of us who have gone collecting can put together a little bit more of the picture, but no one has the full picture, and no one can see what the mosaic actually looks like. We only have little bits and pieces. Some of us only have an individual tile, and some people seem like their tile is the truth, but it's not that, right? So anyways, I'm digressing. I can go on that all day, but definitely mosaic is much more in mind than the false dichotomy. So I would just change this to I have faith that my path is on is working for myself, or working for my circle is that's what I interpret side of the light, that you're being beneficial, that you're being positive, that you're in line with the APBP test, right? That's what I think side of the light is. So you can face any challenge. I am optimistic. When things seem lost, I never lose sight of what's really important. I always fight to save the things I love. I mean, we can lose sight of what's important, but it's refocusing on those things, remembering what's important, remembering what really matters in this life, remembering what really speaks to you, and what gives you optimism to begin with, right? Like, and it's always important to fight for those things, because they are what bring joy into the life. It's the experiences worth living. Again, doesn't mean it's not going to be without struggle, or it's not going to be without its hardships, but there's a different kind of hardship, right? Like people who've been in bad relationships, and have struggled for them and fought for them, and been there tooth and nail for bad relationships, understand that there's a difference in fighting for a bad relationship, like the stress, the struggle, the burden, versus when you fight for a good relationship, when you fight for a loving relationship, when you're willing to put in the work and effort. I shouldn't say fight, because it's more like just putting in the effort in a loving relationship. It's not the same. They're not comparable. Those two things are just, you realize, yeah, it can get tough sometimes, but at the same time, it's a lot easier when it's something you love, and it's something that's healthy, that's something that's good for you, and it's something that helps you grow, and all that. APBP test again makes it easier. So, and then this one came out, and these are all ones that we get often. So, your eyes can deceive you. Don't trust them. There are many ways to interpret a situation. Look at it from all angles before you draw a conclusion, which is just general Jedi practice right there. So that's just a reminder on general Jedi practice, is to, make sure that you're keeping an open mind. Let me see if I can find two more for you, because I don't know if those resonate. I just, like, they popped out. So, and that could be for anyone. It could have been for anyone, because I was looking to do like just a general reading. Let's see. I picked up that book you mentioned on eBay, Go with the Flow. Pretty good so far. I'm almost done reading it. Yeah, I really like it. I really like, it's really interesting to see the life, and the struggles and the triumphs and the defeats and all of that with a professional Go player who was, considered the best in the world at one time, right? And had their own diversity and their own version. There's like versions of racism in there that have to be contended with, which is, sometimes I think people forget, how petty humans can be, and yeah, they had to deal with, racism, and they had to deal with prejudice and diversity, and and they got past it all, but then they still had to, success comes with its own struggles and its own burdens and things like that, and failure has its own lessons and its own rewards. And, again, it just kind of destroys that false dichotomy. Two things can be true at once, right? So absolutely, I think it's good. It has a lot of life lessons. I think it flowed well with what I want to do with Zoism, but it also flows well with a lot of Jedi philosophy as well. So I think it's a pretty good book to have overall, and it's interesting. It's interesting. Funny how he talked about the smoking cigarettes, how it went from normal to being outlawed during his time. The chess in Europe and Russia was the same way. I guess the early chess masters would blow smoke in their opponent's direction to disturb them. Would blow smoke to disturb them at times. That's dirty, man. That's funny. But yeah, like how society changes at the same time that they're trying to do this thing, and then you have to adjust with societal changes and things of that nature, right? Yeah, it's an interesting book. I really like it, and I do recommend it. So if anybody else picks it up, yeah, I think it's a good one. I'm glad you have enjoyed it. I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you found it worth the time. Hopefully on eBay you got it for cheaper than it was originally went for too. So that's one of the things I like about eBay. I go there for books like a lot because usually you can pick them up for like cheap from used bookstores and stuff like that. One of the things that I like is sometimes you get books with like highlights and margin, notes in the margins and things of that nature, and I enjoy that stuff. So, all right, let me see if I can grab two more for Base Jedi. Thanks for the nice recommendation. Yeah, I think it was $8, I think. Excellent. Yeah. I always wonder if some of the books that I've gotten that are new, right, like the new ones that come out, and I get them in hardcover and first print or whatever, that if they'll be worth something someday, like to someone, like because I buy old books, as well. Like I have like a whole shelf down here of books like from early 1900s and 1800s. I have a couple books from the 1800s and things like that, and I always wonder if the new books that I buy will one day be like on the same level as those books. All right, let me see if I can pull two more cards here just to see. Nope, too many slices. What's this one? Oh, I like that one. All right. Let's see. I'm going to just throw this one out here. Let's do that. Just throw that one. Excellent, though. I'm really glad. All right. Let's see if Base Jedi, if any of these resonate with you. I just threw this one out here, though. Oh, we know this one. Every journey begins with the first step. Have the patience when a task seems overwhelming. Start by one small thing rather than everything at once. So, patience, Jedi. Remember your patience. You are fearless, even in the face of insurmountable odds. I will never back down. My strength and spirit will see me through the toughest challenges. Be fearless. We went and watched Rogue One in the IMAX theaters this Friday because they had a special release, and we got to see some of the behind the scenes and, of course, the trailer for Andor. The behind the scenes and the sneak peek, because it was behind the scenes a little bit, talking with the actor and the producer of it. But also they showed an extended clip, a scene from what I imagine to be the first episode of Andor, and it looks really good. It looks really good. It looks like fun. It looks like a fun journey. It looks really good. So really looking forward to Andor. It was really cool to see it on the IMAX theater. Uh, crowd could have been better, but that's a whole other thing. All right, and an activity: read a book, grab a copy of something new, or revisit an old classic you've read 100 times before. The best stories can transport you to a galaxy far, far away without ever leaving your room. So, activity for anyone might be especially for you, base Jedi. Grab a book, even though we were just talking about that. Just talking about that. Oh. I know I want to buy some of the black edition sometimes, but I have no money to risk. Yeah, that's always the tough part, right? Is yeah, money in this society. I won't even get started. Rogue One had one of the best. Vader really put some balls back on him after, well, we don't talk about Annie. Annie wasn't supposed to be Vader though, so like I don't know. People hate on like fucking the portrayal of Anakin, but it was exactly what it was supposed to be. Could the fall to the dark side have been better? Sure, absolutely. I think there was a opportunity missed for the glorified hero, the person who can do anything, finally having something taken out of his control, which is sort of a little bit what we see. But I mean more of someone who is this war hero and is this thing and learns that uh, might means right kind of concept, and that gradual fall of self-importance and self-belief and thing uh, could have been better. But people want to hate on episode one, but I think again I agree with Lucas on the whole point of it. The point wasn't that Darth Vader started off as a badass. Like that was never the thing, right? That was never supposed to be the point. And and a teenager, I felt Hayden Christensen's portrayal of an awkward, emotional, self, all powerful, teenager was pretty spot on. Whiny, cringy. Yeah, that's. I was a teenager once. I don't, there's that trend that's been going around on social media, the teenage dirtbag. And I've thought about doing it and putting up pictures of my teenage self, and just the thought of it makes me cringe, man. Like, it is not pretty. My teenager, I was not, you know, I was not some wise person, who is in the teenage years. And so, yeah, I had no issues with any of that. I had no issue. I didn't find Vader was thing. I think Rogue One is the first time we actually see Vader like in action outside of the original trilogy. So like, of course he's gonna act. I don't necessarily agree with it though, because yeah, you have Vader doing all this like bam, 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 like just destroying stuff and killing these guys, moving all quick, like just being like super fucking like god tier. And it's supposed to happen right before episode 4, or episode 4. And in episode 4, the original intent from George Lucas was that the reason why Obi-Wan and Vader's fight is the way it is because it's two tired, old, broken men, and not just physically tired, but like soul tired uh, men who are fighting each other. And so they're not trying to go like all out, and they're not this thing, and they don't have the ability to do what they once did, you know, um, to fight like they once did. That was kind of the point of George Lucas, and Rogue One sort of overwrites that concept, because now you look at the fight in A New Hope, and you're like, well, we just saw Vader. Like literally, if you put Rogue One in the timeline of, you know, it's one right after the other, and all of a sudden, like, so Vader's this fucking oh, crush, bam, throw, kick, but dude, just go into town, and then he fights Obi-Wan, and it's like, so to me, I thought personally, I thought it was a bad narrative choice. I mean, yeah, it made Vader like scary again, I guess, but like, it doesn't fit with the narrative of the trilogy. It doesn't fit with the original trilogy and the narrative that George Lucas was going for. That by this time, by the time of, like, it fits in Obi-Wan and Kenobi in the TV show, that him and Kenobi and Vader. That's what, yeah, that fight in Kenobi, like their duel, that fits because they're both still they're. I mean, this is, you know, they're both still young. They're both still kind of technically in their prime, right? They're getting over there, but they're Jedi, right? Like they got the Force with them and stuff like that. So it makes sense. That's where that badass fight scene should happen. And then in episode 4, they're both broken, tired men, man. Like, they're just done. And so their duel isn't supposed to be the duel of heroes again. It's supposed to be, you know, you're supposed to have this opposites, right? Where you look at the fight from episode 3 and the episode 4 are supposed to be different. They're supposed to reflect the journey that they've gone through, and not just the physical journey, but the emotional journey, the spiritual journey, that they've gotten to this point of, like, just, you know, it's not going to be the twirl and fight and force chunk and all this other stuff that they did, obviously, in Kenobi, which again, I think was great and I think it fit. But then to have Vader do that in Rogue One, I never have agreed with that cinematic choice. Does it look cool? Absolutely. Does it make Vader a badass? Absolutely. You know, do they purposely parallel that with Luke in The Mandalorian? Absolutely. All badass, all awesome, all fucking cool. But cinematically, it's cool. But narrative-wise, kind of it messes with what the original creator had in mind for the characters and why it was the way it was. You know, so that's a, yeah. Does it look cool? For sure. But I have my narrative problems with it. So yeah. Obi-Wan is definitely the older of the two, for sure, but he's also less chopped up. You know, I think that's what people forget about Vader too, is he's a sack of meat. You know, and there is this concept of, you know, damaging your connection to the Force. You know, and that's what's supposed to be scary about Vader, is that he's still super strong with the Force, and he's still this force to be reckoned with, and he can still contend with the best Jedi even in that state, you know. But he's, you know, and he draws upon the dark side much more. Obviously, the pain, the anger, the fear, all of that is much more accessible to him. But as Star Wars lore goes, you know, it's a double-edged sword. But still, like, you know, in the books and stuff like that, in the different media, they do explore how the loss of limbs kind of affects his ability to kind of really grab onto the Force as he once did. And that's just with, you know, the one arm missing, that they kind of explore that concept. So then after the fact, he's got both arms missing, both legs missing, and he's been singed and burned outwardly and inwardly. You know, his lungs have been damaged and stuff. Like, all of that, you know, lends to, you know, this kind of disconnection from the Force, that he's not what he once was. And yet he's still so powerful, and yet he's still like that thing, right? But at the same time, you know, again, it's much more than just the physical. It's also the emotional and spiritual side of it too. These characters are soul tired. Like, Vader's been in this cycle of hate, anger, fear all those years, right? Like that's how he's moved along. That's how he's survived. And again, it's a double-edged sword. So by the time you get there, you're just done. And he never really, that was never really his like desire to be that. That was never really his desire to go that route. And so it was never really in line with his character, which again, episode one, or the prequels is meant to show that Anakin is a young person. Anakin was an optimistic person. Anakin was a good person. Anakin was this kid, and Anakin had dreams and hopes and loves, and had this idea of having a family, and wanted all these nice, lovely things, and wanted, really enjoyed these things. And then how that got twisted and how that got used against him, and how he went down this path and sort of accepted this path. Again, that idea of living only in absolutes, that I can't turn back. I've made my choice. I've already done this. There's no redemption. There's none of this, right? He doesn't believe there's any kind of redemption for him. And again, get to see that a little bit in Kenobi's, which I thought was really good, really powerful, and definitely got tears to my eyes. But even when he first meets Luke and Luke's trying to tell him like there's redemption and stuff like that, he doesn't really believe it, but by that point he wants to believe it, because his younger self didn't. And his younger self had the blinders, had the absolute mindset, right? Like, I've already done this. I've already taken this step. So I just have to see it through now. I have to. And we see that in Anakin's character, whether you watch the Clone Wars or read the books or anything. You see, he has this kind of, I've already committed myself to this path, so I have to continue down this path. And yeah, that's an absolute mindset, right? And understanding that there's like, there's only two choices here. And it's like, no, there's not, right? It's a false dichotomy, so he had this ability to, but he didn't believe it. He didn't believe it. He believed that, like, I've already gone down. So it's never really been in line with his character, which it's gonna drag on you. Every act, every amount of violence, every thing out of anger, every like hate filled moment that Vader brings to the screen. Which again, does it look cool? Does it make Vader badass again and stuff like that? Sure. But like character wise, that's taken a toll. So by the time we get to episode 4, Vader's quite done being Vader. It's starting to show. The cracks are starting to show. Like the machinery is not moving as good as it once did, or that was like the idea. Before Rogue One, is that it wasn't good. Things are starting to rust, if you will, to use that analogy. But yeah, so Obi-Wan's definitely older, but it's not just about age. One, again, dark side being a two-edged, double-edged sword, where it's, like, yeah, you're grabbing this strength, but it's also cutting you too, like, so it's also damaging yourself. So there's that, concept, that philosophy that Lucas was trying to inject into there, as well as the just being tired, man. Like you can only fight against your true nature for so long. You can lie to yourself for so long, and it's why Luke is able to basically turn Vader pretty quickly, because he's been fighting and struggling this entire time himself. And the one thing that he was always hoping for, the one thing that he really wanted, that family. I'm sure he had dreams of him, Padme, and the kids running around with Uncle Obi-Wan. When he finally found out that he had these things, that that he did have a kid, that had survived, that hope survived. It brought back that thing. And when you're soul tired, man, and you realize, oh, hey, I don't have to be this person anymore, it's gonna make a difference. It's gonna make a difference. So if there was going to be a Billy badass still around, it would be Vader for sure. I mean, like, there's no one else, right? Like Vader's the man, you know. He's a great villain. I love him. And he's a tragic villain, though. I think that's what people forget, is that he's not just meant to be scary. He's meant to be scary in the fact that he could be any of us. And that's terrifying, right? That you can go down the path of Vader. Because again, Anakin's portrayal is something that I think, especially when you look at, I think the millennial generation really identified with Anakin. When I look in the Jedi community, throughout the years of the Jedi community that I was a part of it, a lot of the people, especially those around, 5 to 10 years younger than me, always kind of had that. They gravitated towards Anakin's character. They liked Anakin Skywalker. They were able to relate to Anakin Skywalker. And the fact that he turns into Vader, this menacing force of destruction and power, and fear. Like, people are terrified of Vader, right? And he feeds off that, like the fact that he can turn, someone like that can turn into that is also, that again, Luke is trying to give you that cautionary tale and such like that. But yeah, Vader was definitely Billy Badass, To be fair, Obi-Wan didn't get burnt to a crisp and put back together again. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. As we talked about, like Obi-Wan just had to contend with the inner demons, and he was failing. And that's what I loved about the Kenobi series, is that it showed that he was failing at that. He was really, really failing at that. He was failing at at contending with the inner wounds, the inner injuries, right? The emotional, spiritual, philosophical, mental, intellectual wounds and injuries. He was failing at that pretty bad, and it took its toll as well. And we see those, like, the injuries matter for Force users, right? The injuries matter, whether they're physical or psychological, and he was able to deal with them better. Obviously, he was able to get back to being a Jedi, and we see that accumulation in Star Wars Rebels when he faces off against Darth Maul, and there's no hate, there's no malice, there's nothing in Obi-Wan Kenobi. In fact, he continues to offer Maul a chance to, like, walk away and to find forgiveness and to be better. And Maul very consciously and very, self-aware is like, that's never going to happen, man. Like, that's never going to happen, And so, yeah, we see that kind of contrast again. And we see how Obi-Wan is in that, just like, he's not going to move in the same way. He doesn't fight in the same way anymore. He's an older, he's tired. He's been doing this long enough, and he just kind of wants to get his task done. He just wants it to be over, I think, and I think we see that too in, A New Hope, when he's there with Vader, like, I'm done, and I'm going to force Ghost my out of here, because I can still do what I'm meant to do in that form, and yeah, so he gets to force Ghost out. But that scene with the thing, the growth of him, it's pretty good, considering everything he went through without resorting to the dark side. Kenobi was an absolute Chad. I mean, Kenobi's the GOAT. I don't think anybody can say otherwise. Kenobi's the GOAT, man. I know Yoda, since Empire Strikes Back, Yoda's always been my, like, the wise Jedi, the great Jedi. But when you go through everything and you realize Star Wars is really just Obi-Wan Kenobi's story, it's he's the GOAT, and he's the ultimate Jedi. And I identify with Kenobi more than any other Jedi because of his love for the Jedi philosophy, because of his love for the Jedi Order. And he really believed in it, and he really believed in the philosophy. He really believed in the Order. He really believed for everything that Jedi stood for. And he chose the Jedi over personal happiness more than once, right? Like, he really, because that's, something that really spoke to his soul. He really believed in something greater. And yeah, so, like, and I think that was, character wise, again, narrative wise, that was known. Satine would have never asked Obi-Wan Kenobi to stay because, as happy as he would have been, there would have always been a piece of him missing. That Jedi, he always would have been that Jedi. And, if you really wanted him to be happy, then you would really want him to continue on his little Jedi journey, because he really does enjoy it. He really does. He really loved it. And Kenobi is absolutely the best to watch. He went through all the tragedies. He had two of the people he loved the most die in his arms. He watched his friends die, and then he, what he thought, he watched his brother die at technically his own doing, his own hand, to only learn he turned into something worse, right? And really having that struggle. So no, Kenobi is, and I identify that with Kenobi too, because when I get soul tired and I'm dealing with my stuff, as I don't want to turn to the dark side. I want to turn to a dark cave on the middle of nowhere and be a hermit as well, and like hide from things. So yeah. Like Yoda said, quicker, more seductive, so it will burn up your force candle faster. Probably would explain why the Emperor looks so old. Yeah. And they've continued that trend throughout Star Wars. Like most dark side users, especially the masters, they look worn. Obviously, the game Star Wars: The Old Republic. Yeah, The Old Republic. It has, it has dark side. Like if you play a dark side character, you can start to get the veins and such, and start to you look rough. You look not so good because the dark side takes its toll, which is again kind of allegory for life. If you live in anger all the time, if you're perpetually if you're perpetually drawing on your anger, if you're perpetually drawing on those what people label as negative emotions, again, I feel like that's a false dichotomy. That's a perceiving a difference where there is none kind of thing. But those emotions are draining, and they do have, studies have shown that they do have kind of like a negative impact on the body for long periods of time. And like, that's where we see like adrenaline being tied to when you're in a heightened adrenaline state of awareness for too long. That's where you get a lot of PTSD develops from, and things of that nature. So that's one of those things where it mirrors kind of our life, and what we know that like what's the old Buddhist saying, being angry is like grasping a hot coal in your hand. The only one you're really burning is yourself. And it's that concept. You can live in negativity, you can live in that anger, fear, hate, all of that, and really, and it does provide focus. You can really focus in, man. A lot of people have gotten stuff done out of spiteful anger. Like a lot of things have been accomplished out of that. No lie. But again, it's going to take its toll. It drains you. It's emotionally draining. It's physically draining. It's going to have an impact. And I think you see it in people like, as well, like the people we use the expression lived a rough life, and you see people who just seem older. They look older than they should. They look older than we think the years should say, and it's because that they've experienced these plethora of emotions, positive, negative, whatever, but like these plethora of emotions for extended periods of time, and it just kind of it weighs on you, it weighs on you. Thank you for the carpool. They all resonate. Okay. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. But I'm glad that they that they resonated. Sometimes it's sometimes I look at the cards and I'm like, I don't think so. And then I'm almost always wrong. I'm always wrong. I think it was last week I pulled some cards for someone, and I was like, I have no idea why I'm pulling this. And they were like, oh my God, like it completely resonated with them. Obviously not for me, but I'm not supposed to. It wasn't for me. And it was just one of those things. Like sometimes I'm like, I don't know if this is going to resonate with you. I think I just like to assume that everybody here is doing good in life and everybody here is not facing any problems or struggles. I just like to assume that. I think it just makes my worldview a little bit better to think that everybody in the chat or everybody, watching is doing good, is having fun, is doing a-okay in life and facing no struggles or problems or anything like that. And so don't need so any of these things like don't they're not necessary and stuff like that. So I think that's where I get it, because I just like to I like to have that flowery rose colored view of all y'all. I'm the only one that's allowed to struggle here. None for you. But no, I'm glad it resonated for you. But again, and we'll just use this one for our weekly one. Grab a book, grab a copy of something, and go enjoy it. I think that's a good activity. As I said, I just recently did it with this one, which is fun. Obviously, this book was recommended last week. The Post Office, or is there the Post Office? I don't know. Also, an excellent book, and then you could pick up pretty easily just about anywhere. A library if you need, but also a good book. So, but yeah. So I think that's it. Unless we have any more card pulls or any more questions or any more comments, concerns, Star Wars debates. I've been here for about an hour. So mostly me just talking about my own nonsense. So unless there's anything else, individuals, peoples, Jedis, I think we'll call it. Huh? Thanks for a great stream as always. I'm gonna time like the delay between the YouTube video and the StreamYard video one of these times, or the chat. Like I think I'm gonna check the delay on that, just for fun, just for my own knowledge. But you're welcome. It's mostly just me pontificating at this point, but absolutely always happy to explore the fiction and philosophies and ideas with all of you. Always happy to go through those things. Again, it's important. It's important that we do this stuff, even when you're so tired, even when you're done. It's good to go through it and things of that nature. So depending on how things go, we should be here next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. 11 a.m. on Sundays seem to be the general time. General one. Oh, okay. All right. One more thing before we go, I guess. One more thing before we go. May I have an activity card, please? We can try. They're all pretty mixed up. So, activity card. Didn't like the book? If the book one comes out again, man, that's what you're going to be stuck with. All right. There you go. Boosh. Activity card. Share with a friend. Whether it's your favorite toy or a legendary starship, feels good to let someone else enjoy the things you love. This one have a book number? No book number. Okay. So share with a friend. Share with a friend. Again, it doesn't have to be a physical thing. It doesn't have to be like a copy of something that you loan out. It doesn't have to be anything like that. Sharing with a friend can be sharing good food. It can be sharing good conversation. Something you love. Something you love. So what do you love? A TV show. You could share a TV show. You could share a book. You share with a friend, though. Share with a friend. Your favorite toy. a video game, maybe, something you love. Maybe you love time, spending time together. What's your love language? Maybe it's sharing a cup of coffee and just enjoying the sunset with your friend. Share with a friend. So that's your activity. Kuma Qui-Gon. That is your activity. Share with a friend. Go enjoy. Have some fun. Yeah. Again, it's a wide variety of ways to get that done, to accomplish that, So main thing is just to share with a friend. All right. So if that is all, we will call it. We will get out of here. We will get going. All right. Checking it. Giving you a little time to type in the chat. Little time. Okay. Think we're good. Let's see. 40 words per minute should be your. We're good. We're good. Okay. So I'm gonna sign off. Everybody, go have a good week. Go have fun. Go be a Jedi. Go do your thing. Go get in your Jedi practices. Go live life. Go be happy. Go do something that you enjoy. Go do something that brings a smile to your face if you are able to. Preferably something that doesn't cost money. Even if that's just, going into a room, sitting down and reading a book with a nice cup of coffee or tea. So go do something. Go do something that you enjoy. Go experience some joy in life. Thank you, Opie, for everything. Absolutely. Thank you. Absolutely. Of course. No worries. Right back at you. That stuff. Appreciate all of you. Appreciate all of you who have been here and hanging out and talking in the chat, as always. Whether first time or all the time. Appreciate you. For the silent people who just hang out and watch the videos, cool. For the people who watch later, appreciate you as well. For the people that jump in the comments on the videos later, appreciate you. Appreciate all of you. May the Force be with you, and we'll get out of here. All right. Have a good one. Go enjoy. Go do something.